So, good evening. This is attorney Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell, and I am so excited to be here with you this evening. Although our topic is very serious, we are going to have an amazing discussion with this beautiful lady here. Well, to my right, your left, Trish Ahjel Roberts. Now, I
Yeah.
told Trish that I want her to introduce herself because just like me, she wears many hats. But tonight's hats, we're going to focus more on the research and writing. And so I'm going to turn it on over to you, Trish, so you can tell the audience why you're awesome, why I love you, and then we'll dive into the discussion.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this topic. So my name is Trish Ahjel Roberts. I'm an author, coach, and speaker. I started my entrepreneurial journey about 3 years ago. I have a coaching business called Mind Blowing Happiness, but I also write for Natural Awakenings magazine, which is a holistic health magazine in Atlanta. And I serve as consulting editor of African American issues for the magazine. So we do an issue about once a year that's really focused on the Black community. And last year, I pitched the idea of doing a special section on Black hair, on natural hair. So I wrote 3 articles for this section, and one of them really got into hair product toxicity. And I learned just stuff, Lynita, that I had no idea about. And I was really surprised when, you and I spoke recently, and I realized there's all these lawsuits that seem to have started maybe a few months after I wrote the articles. At the time that I wrote them, I really had a hard time finding articles on this topic.
Yeah.
So I'm just so excited. I mean, it's a terrible topic. I've had some personal experience myself. But I'm just so glad that people are starting to get lawyers like you who can, take on this issue and fight for Black women and Black women's health. So kudos to you for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that is a wonderful segue into our topic tonight. The fact that you said that it was hard to find information on the topic. And I got it. Well, I'm going to say something and then I'll turn into the question.
Mhm.
It was hard for me as well, because when I was approached about getting into this litigation, I wanted to make sure that we were on solid ground. And
Mhm.
what I found an article here, an article there. And the thing that kept coming up for me was the lack of scientific research definitively tying. It was always the statistics saying that mostly Black women, but it's really women of color, people who have textured hair, because we're the
Mhm.
ones using these products who
Mhm.
have the higher incidence rates of the cancers, of the fibroids, the hysterectomies, the endometriosis. And so I'm going to ask you, how did you get the information to write your articles when it was so hard to find?
I got to tell you, it was very, very labor intensive.
Yes.
It was time consuming. I fought to have this article to begin with, and I had no idea how much work it was going to be until I really got into it. So by the time I was finished, I was exhausted. But I was also really proud of it. And I mean, I'm happy now that maybe some more people will be able to see the research that I did, because this has come more into kind of the public domain and top of mind. But yeah, I mean, there's research out there. And, the other thing that's really kind of an interesting thing to think about, Lanita, is the way that search engines work. And I don't know all the algorithms behind them, but if you search this topic, my guess is that my articles would not show up. So I don't know that when I'm searching for this topic, how easy it is to find information, even if it's out there, So there are a lot of things that are at play when you are part of a minority or marginalized population that's not always top of mind, whether it's in technology or healthcare or anything else. So
Yeah. And and that's interesting because I believe that that is one of the reasons it was so hard to find information, and the information that we were finding was not coming up in the top 10 for Google, right?
mhm.
And I recently learned at a conference I attended just last month that one of the things that Google uses when it comes to rankings is not necessarily how on point something is, but how recent it is. So even if somebody wrote something 10, 20 years ago that directly ties to what we're talking about, because all of us have heard things in the atmosphere about how hair straighteners, perm, relaxer, whatever you want to call it, has been linked to health issues. But some of those claims are 20, 30 years old, right? And so those aren't going to come up in the first 10, 20 links when it comes to Google. And so when I was looking for things, one of the things that I was really struck by was how it was all Black women. And I really want to push the fact that it's people with textured hair.
Yeah.
Because this is his Latinx women. And there are men who actually use these products as well.
Yeah, they used to make them just specifically for men.
Absolutely. They just put a man on a box, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, for some reason, S curl pops into my head.
Yes.
Wasn't it like the wave, the Billy D. Williams or whatever?
That's right. And it's interesting you mentioned the box, because one of the things that I found in my research is that those people on the box, that's not even their hair. They're wearing wigs and hair extensions.
Really?
Really? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, Trish.
That's interesting. I have a friend who did some hair modeling, and she was a Black woman. Well, she is a Black woman who has non-traditional Black hair, right? So she has hair that looks more like maybe what you think of for Hispanic hair or something like that. And but you're right, it was something where maybe she was advertising a weave or something, but it wasn't the weave, it was her, it was her hair, so yeah, you're right, they probably do a switcheroo on us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all feeds back to the time when straight, light skin, brown paper bag, the whole 9 yards of what was acceptable. I mean, I have been using perms since I was small, but I continued perm as an adult up until my late 30s, because I was taught that there was a certain image that corporate America was looking for, and my natural hair was not
it, right?
Right.
No, I know. I got my first perm, and there's an article where I really wanted to have an article that talked about my personal experience too, so I kind of fought for that as well, because I didn't want to do all these research articles without having a personal story, because all Black women have our hair stories,
Yes, yes, we
But
do.
I was gonna say, so I remember I got my hair relaxed for the first time when I was 8 years old. But I remember a specific instance because my mother was married before my father, and she was married to a Portuguese guy. So I knew he had good hair. And I remember being like almost 6 years old, something like that. And I said to my mother that she should have stayed married to the previous guy, so I should have good hair. And girl, the look she gave, she's not ready to kill me. But just to think that I was a baby, it's so ingrained in you, like from birth, these ideas of what is that, quote unquote, good hair. Thankfully, I think it's gotten a little bit better, but
Yeah, but I saw that. I think it's a lot, well, in my opinion, I feel that it's a lot easier for those of us who are out on our own and doing our own thing. But for those who are still working in certain types of environments, it's still a challenge. It really is still a challenge.
I didn't grow my locks until I quit corporate. So,
yeah.
And when I first moved to Atlanta, I had had my hair natural for many years. But when I knew I was moving to a new city, I relaxed my hair because I wasn't sure, I needed a job and I wasn't sure what I was walking into. So.
Yeah, I mean, that is for real. That is absolutely for real. I wanted to go back, if you don't mind, to your research, because we had some new pronouncements come. One of the things with this litigation that we're involved in right now, with holding these brands accountable, um, is the fact that the pool is so large because there have been so many health issues, right? And
Mhm.
so it's narrowing down, narrowing down. And we just found out that if you really want to make a case, you really have to have hysterectomy plus fibroids. It needs to be uterine cancer and or ovarian cancer. They don't want to really acknowledge the link with breast cancer, even though some of those same articles, one of them you sent to me,
Mhm.
linked breast cancer specifically,
I
right?
mean, what I've seen was they're saying that the relaxers are endocrine disruptors. And
That's
I'm
exactly
just a
right.
writer, I'm not a researcher or a scientist,
Right.
but and that seems to affect anything that is impacted by hormones.
That's
But
right.
perhaps the research is not as strong with breast cancer. Is that what it is?
So
I
what
mean,
it
I
is,
know I saw some links to breast cancer.
yeah, so it is two parts that I understand at this point. So the pool is large, and we have to remember, you hit it, when we're talking about marginalized groups, it is hard for us to get the mainstream to understand the serious injury that occurred here, and that we deserve justice. Just like if something like this happened in the otherwise community, there would be hell to pay, right?
Oh yeah.
Absolute, right? And then the second thing is the science is still coming forth. And the reason is because what is labeled on those boxes is not necessarily what's in that product. The FDA does not require these companies to put everything in the labeling. And a lot of times they'll just put 3 or 4 things there and then lump everything in a other category called fragrance. And
Mm.
so they're having to reverse engineer this thing to figure out exactly what is in here. So when you have those kinds of things going, it makes it hard. But that doesn't mean that we're going to quit. I mean, we know about hard. It's just I caution people, this type of case takes time. And I
Oh
think,
yeah.
you mentioned seeing some of the advertisements after you wrote your articles. I'm annoyed by some of those advertisements because it makes it seem like it's guaranteed money for you and you're getting
Oh, the
paid
law firm
tomorrow.
ads. You mean the law
That's a
firm?
Yeah, it's a lie. Who knows that the court moves slow? Me, you, everybody with sense.
I will tell you, in my previous life as a financial advisor, I was in class action lawsuits, right? That were impacting the Black financial advisors and women. And they took many, many years.
Yes.
So yeah,
Say that again, Trish.
that's just the way that
For
that
the
goes.
people in the back, how long did it take, Trish?
Yeah, it took many, many years.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, depending, and I was honestly in more than one, which is just how crazy that industry can be. But yeah, they take years.
That's
So
right.
if this is just starting now, don't quit your day job and
That's
you know,
right.
but I mean, I think the most important part of it is just getting this message out and people having their voices heard and having the opportunity to at least get people to start using more natural hair products, doing what you can do now for your own health,
Yeah,
um, while we're waiting for, kind of the wheels of justice to do their thing.
I agree. I totally agree. And I tell people, and for those who are not going to stop using the products, don't get mad at them. Don't get mad at them because they are used to looking a certain way. And there is honestly nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is the people who have taken advantage of our trust and put damaging chemicals in these products.
Right. And I
That's
would say
that's
it's
the
not
wrong.
even about the look because a lot of women blow their hair straight.
Absolutely.
It's just for some, it's just it could be the convenience, it could be the
Mhm.
price,
Yeah,
like those kits might cost you $8, whereas a blowout can be expensive and you have to maintain it.
that's right.
So, we all do the best that we can. But my thing was that most Black women didn't even know that they were taking their health into their hands when they were using a relaxer. We thought it was safe.
Exactly. Exactly.
They had it for our children, little babies on the box, on the boxes. You put this on your 5-year-old. You know, it's not like a cigarette box that tells you there's a warning, you're risking your health, or there's, carcinogens in here. We didn't know. So,
And interestingly, those boxes were deceptive as well, because those babies are wearing extensions and wigs.
how do you know that? You got to tell me how you found it.
Because that's part of the research in all of this. The
Really?
marketing, the deceptive practices.
The baby's got
It's part
extensions?
of all of that. It's part of all of it.
I thought they might have just had, kids who had naturally straight hair.
Our hair doesn't get bone straight like that. I mean, as a 4C girl, never.
I mean, some mixed kids can have, or hair that you can pull straight. You know what I mean?
It is, but that's not
That's not what that is.
And if they had it would be still deceptive, because it didn't get that way.
No, it's still deceptive for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, you see, like, even in mainstream cosmetics, you'll see someone and they'll say, oh, she uses this lotion and her skin is so beautiful. And it's like, man, her skin's always been like that. You know what I mean?
And they airbrush the heck out of her.
Yeah, that too.
And the thing with those lotions, we're hoping and praying that those lotions don't have toxic chemicals in them that's going to cause some type of something that'll be a never-ending health battle.
Well, that's one thing. I don't know if you saw my article. I think you did. But one of the things that surprised me, like relaxers, I expected to be toxic, but there were a bunch of other products that were, marketed to Black women that are toxic as well, that surprised me. And they were like the anti-frizz serums.
Yes.
The moisturizing lotions, which everybody knows what it is, but I won't say any brand.
Right.
I think it's actually in the research. But yeah, products that are so commonplace in the Black community that I just was really surprised by that. So
the thing that they all have in common is the main component of plastic. That's the thing, because it's cheap. And in most countries it's outlawed, but it is not outlawed in the United States. So these brands have bought these smaller companies that used to have a really good product, and then they switch out for something cheaper. Right. And we don't know. We're just using it. And then we develop these issues along the way.
Yeah, sometimes simple is the best stuff, Get that shea butter, get that cocoa butter,
Yes, and make it happen.
Olive oil, coconut oil. Keep it simple.
I love it. Yes. Now, Trish, you have a magazine.
Oh, I do.
You do. We want to see it because it bears directly on this conversation.
Yes. So this is a paper copy that I have at home, but you can access this online. If you go to my website, actually, if you do trishahjelroberts.com and you hit, there's a tab for writing, you'll see articles. You can get it there. Or if you Google Natural Awakenings Atlanta, you could probably get it there as well. So yes, this was the magazine. I had a lot of fun on this issue. The cover is like all my friends.
Looking amazing.
And yeah, so there were 3 articles in here that I wrote. One was the one, which was my personal story. And I call that From Dark and Lovely to Happy and Nappy.
Yes.
And then the one that deals with the toxicity and products is why the Black and natural hair movement is good for your health. And at the end of that article, it actually does give you some recipes for natural hair products that you can make in your kitchen. So that's really helpful. One is for a hair mask kind of conditioner thing. The other one is for a scalp massage for like hair growth. And then the third article, which when I pitched it, they really had no idea what I was talking about. And I think sometimes even Black women, we don't necessarily always use this term, but it's about hair shaming. So like if you think of, this is what this thing looked like. If you think of that young man who was not allowed to walk his graduation ceremony because he had locks,
Yeah.
or that other girl, I think she was I want to say she was a wrestler. I used her in here, but they were pulling her beads out in the middle of the game. Just craziness. There was another guy where they cut his locks in the middle of the game. There was a lawsuit where this woman was not hired for a job, and it was upheld because she had locks. And I'm sure you probably know that the Crown Act is been kind of making its way around the country and passing in different states, which is against hair discrimination for people with textured hair. So yeah, so I did a lot of work on those articles, so definitely check them out.
Absolutely. And that was Natural Awakenings.
Natural Awakenings, or you can go to my website, which is trishahjelroberts.com, and hit articles. And Lynita, I will give you a link that specifically takes you to the special section. So you can put it in Facebook so people could go straight to it. It'll be easier.
Absolutely. We will drop that in. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to hold you long because I know that it is after 8, and Trish was very generous because she was like, can we do it?
I was like, oh, that's getting close to my bedtime.
I know, but and y'all know I normally do come on a little early, but my dear friend, Sonia Brown, who is now Judge Brown, was sworn in tonight.
Oh,
Superior Court judge. She's the 3rd African American to serve, the first HBCU graduate to serve Cobb County. So you know I had to be there.
Oh, that's where you were tonight. Okay, very nice. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
So I wanted to just end with some closing remarks. First, yes, I am actively seeking clients to bring these cases. There might not be a fit right now because, like we've said, they've been narrowing down those people whose claims are able to go forth at this time. If you would like to talk more, visit me at my website, which is lmblawoffices.com, or if you're ready to submit information so we can see if it's a match, you can go to the form, which is available on that website, lmblawoffices.com. Just click relaxer intake and it'll take you to the form, or you can do bit.ly/relaxer intake. I try to keep it simple. It's all lowercase. And Trish has some amazing things coming up. She has the retreat coming up in Ghana. Then yes, the Black Girl is it the Black Girl Magic, the 12
Black Girl Joy Experience.
Black Girl Joy Experience. I'm sorry, Trish. I tried. I'm sorry.
Magic is good too. There's nothing wrong with magic. I love Black Girl Magic.
And so y'all need to go to her website and check out all the amazing things that she has going. I know she's good people. You know why? Because I met her through my coach, Jill Flowers, and Jill does not deal with anybody who isn't awesome. So.
Hey, Jill, if you're watching.
Yes, hey, Jill. All right. Y'all have an amazing evening. Trish, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I so appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
No problem.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.